Paul Manafort. For months I've been saying that the way this man has been investigated and prosecuted is so far beyond the pale I've lost words to describe it. I don't know if the man's innocent or guilty, but the process matters. The process matters. The man has been sitting in solitary confinement in a federal prison in Roanoke. Only recently he was moved to Alexandria, Virginia. He's being prosecuted in two different jurisdictions, Washington, D.C. and Virginia. One of the matters he's being prosecuted for, failing to file as a federal agent, is something that, as a foreign agent, is something that almost nobody's prosecuted for. You get a slap on the hands, you pay a penalty. They pile indictment on top of indictment on top of indictment. And now, Tony Podesta, the older brother of John Podesta, the Clinton consigliere, a big-time Democrat lobbyist, who was also working with Russians and Ukrainians, who was being targeted by Mr. Mueller and his gang of liberal Democrat prosecutors, apparently is receiving immunity in part or whole to flip him against Manafort. The same thing with a former Manafort partner by the name of Gates. Did the same thing. Similar thing. You have 17 prosecutors, the size of the U.S. Attorney's Office in Rhode Island, focused on this man. The Internal Revenue Service focused on this man. All the resources of the federal government, including the Department of Justice, focused on this man. And he can't cut a break. The judge in Washington, D.C. was appointed by Obama. She's a well-known leftist. The judge in the Eastern District of Virginia is almost 80 years old. Although appointed by Reagan, it was part of a deal. He became a federal district judge. He came out of one of the highbrow law firms outside of Richmond. And he's a quirk. He's quirky. They can't cut a break. The things he's being charged with have nothing to do with the campaign. Things he's being charged with could have easily been investigated by a United States Attorney's Office. In fact, if Rod Rosenstein was a serious person rather than a hack, he would now withdraw the jurisdiction of the special counsel he appointed and give it to the U.S. attorneys in both of those jurisdictions. But he's a coward, he's a fraud, he's a buffoon. Mr. Mueller knows he can run wild, and he is. I am not a special pleader for Mr. Mueller. I've never talked to him. I've never met him. I don't know him. I don't even know what he did. But I know a corrupt prosecution when I see one. And you'll hear a lot of the clowns out there say, well, the guy's dirty, well, the guy's this, well, the guy's that. He'll have his day in court. In fact, he'll have his day in two courts. But it looks like the fix is in. And at least so far, I want you to think about something. So far, the man is facing life in prison. I believe he's in his late 60s. He's facing life in prison. Life. And he will not plead guilty. That could change. Because this kind of pressure on any human being is really probably unbearable. I'm sure whatever wealth he accumulated is all gone now. Paying legal fees. These prosecutors are so ruthless that they went after his ex-son-in-law to turn on him on commercial mortgage and real estate deal. What does that have to do with the special counsel? These prosecutors are so vicious and ruthless, they pulled in this special unit within the IRS to go over all his taxes going back more than a decade. And of course, you know, they burst into his home at 6 in the morning when he and his wife were in bed, as if he were Al Capone. It's all intended to put maximum pressure on him to get him to break. And it's interesting, all these clowns on CNN and MSNBC talking about Russia and dictatorships. They never talk about that. This is just not a big deal to them. Scarborough, Cuomo, Tapper, Lemon, all clowns, all court jesters. I'll be right back.